Welcome to Adults Only. I am your big brother Jahi, and this gentleman you see over here in the red is Chaz, and he was messing with me about my glasses, but I don't care what he said. I know as them young boys say, I know I'm still fly with these glasses. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna start off by telling you all that we appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we definitely thank you for taking time out of your busy day, your busy schedule to watch this broadcast. It can be seen every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time and at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. But tonight, Chaz, we got to jump right into this subject matter because we're going to be talking about stress and how to deal with it.
Okay.
Wouldn't you say, before we even start, wouldn't you say, Chaz, that stress is something that is really affecting us?
Yes, it's affecting the Black community a lot, and it affects all of us on an individual basis. I mean, we can sit back and act like we're perfect. We have nothing to worry about, but deep down internally, we always are stressing about something in the back of our mind.
Yeah, because there's so much going on today. You know, it's so
Right.
much going on in our individual lives. And I think it's time that we really had a serious discussion about stress and how to deal with it, how we don't deal with it. And I know we're not going to get done today going through all of our little notes. So we'll probably have to pick it up next week because we want to talk about how we do a terrible job dealing with it. And then we're going to give some insight as to what we can do about this thing that we complain about all the time and cause stress. But before we get started, I think we're going to lay the groundwork. I want to let you read when we say stress in our context, as far as
Okay.
adults only. When we say stress, what are we really talking about?
Stress, what you feel when something is hard to handle and makes you worry. And I'll take it a step further.
Uh-huh.
Things that are out of our control, we like to control. And for the most part of our lives, we can control what we eat, we can control where we go, we can control what we watch on television. But there's just some things in life that's out of our control. And when you can't control that, that's what makes us worry. When you can't control that, it sometimes makes things, it makes it hard for us to handle because most of the time we just love to control things. And sometimes when things are out of our control, that's when we start worrying and panicking.
And I'm going to bring that up too later on because I think that's something that we have not talked about enough. And it's basically a disorder that we struggle with. And it's like an impulsive situation where we do things and we don't know why we feel the way we feel. But yet when we think about what we do, that stress is what is really bothering us. So I think this is going to be a healthy broadcast. But Chaz, let's look at some things that we do when we're stressed, instead of trying to get through the stress and work through the stress and come out on the other side clean. These are some of the things that we do that we've got to stop because it's hurting us. And this one here, I want you to take away. What do we do?
Number one, complain. Yeah, we all do it, and we all are guilty of it. Where we look at the situation instead of talking about it once, we don't leave it alone. We're constantly talking about it. We're
Yeah,
constantly looking up
yeah,
videos on YouTube about it.
yeah.
We're constantly complaining to our family members. And here's the thing: it gets so bad to a point where some of the relatives kind of start tuning us out because it's like, here comes Franklin. He always is complaining about his same old situation. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
is changing. And for the most part, like I said, it's good to talk about it once, leave it alone. But brother, we are always complaining about something, and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
unfortunate.
And we're so stressed out. And what we don't realize is when we complain about it, oftentimes that's like a person that has a rake that's raking leaves. We rake the leaves and throw them up, and that's the stress. It comes down, we rake them up again, and we just constantly have a vicious cycle of that. And you're right, Chaz. Instead of doing something about it, we complain about it. That to me, now help me if I'm wrong. That
Okay.
doesn't make sense to complain about something that we're stressed about as opposed to doing something about the situation. Now, we don't like to talk about the application, but this broadcast is steeped in talking about what we need to do when we're stressed out. But oftentimes, instead of doing something about what we're stressed about, Chaz, we continuously complain, we complain, and we complain. And like you said, it gets to a point where people don't even want to see us coming because they know we're going to rake up those leaves again and start complaining. What's
Yeah.
another thing we do when we're stressed?
Number two, overeat or eat unhealthy foods, especially
Uh-oh.
junk food. Yeah, and
Uh-oh.
we all are guilty of it. We get depressed, we get sad, we just don't know what else to do. So we turn to these alternatives such as junk food and sweets and things like that because that's our comfort zone. That
Mm,
makes us feel good. These
mm,
things make
mm.
some kind of easy blanket to run to because there's nothing else good going for us. So we say, we know what? I'll go to the store, grab me a bowl of ice cream, I'll grab me a bowl
Wow.
of donuts, and
Wow.
just gouge these down because these are the only things that I have to look forward to. And once you start doing that, brother, like we talked about in another broadcast, that starts to create health issues. But overeating is definitely not the solution.
But see, Chaz, we know that's not the solution, but we run to it every time. Some of us will even say this: when I get stressed, I turn to food, as if that's something to distract me. No, that sounds ridiculous. It's really
Right.
absurd. But instead of saying, when I get stressed, I'm going to deal with my situation so I can come out and be a better person, we say, as soon as something gets on my nerves, we run to the refrigerator, we
Yeah.
pull the handle down, we look in that thing, we find all those things that we shouldn't be eating, and we, like you said, we binge, we gouge, we stuff our faces with this, and it's like we turn to this, and this is something sad, but we've got to break this cycle. So if there's anyone out there now that's going through a lot, and you're saying, I'm stressed, because we all get stressed, I want to encourage you to not run to a refrigerator or not run to foods. Don't do that, because that's hurting your body. And
Yeah.
so we shouldn't be
Yeah.
doing that, Chad. So we
Yeah.
definitely want to make sure that we encourage people, because many of us, this is all we know. This
Yeah.
is all we know.
And as we know, with these sweets and these greasy foods and stuff like that, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get high blood pressure. Your sugar is gonna be up, and like we said, it's just a whole slew of problems after that once you start doing that. So hopefully, people can refrain. Looks like we got a comment in the building. Sister Barbara says, "Hotep." We appreciate her. Sister Marie flies in here. She says, "Hotep Kings." We appreciate her. Sister Mashonda's in the building. She says, "Hotep Peeps." We appreciate her. Sister Barbara fires back. She says, I overindulge in food when I'm stressed out, but I'm trying to find a balance for better coping mechanisms than ever before. But that's good. She says that she has a problem. She's addressing it. And I know it is hard in some of these situations where we find ourselves stressed out and we don't have anything to turn to. So we turn to food. But she's saying that she's looking for other mechanisms. Brother, what kind of mechanisms would you suggest that she can fall back on?
Well, I think she wants to look at what is called psychopathology. Now, the big word psychopathology is basically when we study. I'm reading a book now about these neurological conditions, and it
Okay.
talks about how we think when we're stressed. And what I want to encourage her is to say that this psychopathology is basically where we look at this as an abnormal condition. In other words, when she starts to stress and starts to go and eat, she should say to her own self, this is not normal, because
Right.
it's not normal. So this is an abnormal condition. And if we don't deal with these abnormal conditions, we're going to find ourselves this abnormal cognition. We're going to find ourselves having difficulty with thoughts, difficulties with reasoning, difficulties with logic, difficulties with thinking. So we must change the paradigm of our thinking. So the next time when one is stressed, instead of going to the refrigerator or going to food, that person should find something that's positive that they
Right.
can do besides that. Now, I don't know if that helped, but I definitely want to talk about that psychopathology, because we don't talk about that enough, Chaz. And I think
Right.
that's one of the reasons we find ourselves in the condition that we find ourselves in.
Number three, we isolate them or isolate themselves from others. Yeah, some of it could be because of shame. Some of it could be because of depression. We sit back and we say, you know what? Since I'm going through X, Y, and Z, I don't want to see anybody. Don't call me. Don't text me. In fact,
Yeah,
some of
yeah,
us
yeah,
put our
yeah.
cell phones on do not disturb. We shut the emails down. We just are secluded. Now, here's the thing. Now, we all go through terrible situations where we may do that for a day. That's fine if it's for a day. But if it's a constant pattern, week after week, month after month, day after day, and you're constantly doing that, then I would sit back and say, and it's no shot at the person, there's something probably deeper going on. But when we isolate from others just totally, that just shows you that there's something deeper going on. And this is how some of us are coping with it.
Yeah, and I must go back to thinking, Chaz, because it all goes back to our thinking and the way we think when we go through issues. And
Mm-hmm.
isolation is not something that we should want to do.
Right.
Because most of us, when we go through the stress and the stressful times and situations, we want to get away from people because we don't want to be bothered. We don't want to face reality. We want to get away and go into a fantasy world, and that's illogical. That's not
Right.
how people should think. We
Right.
should be thinking clearly when we go through issues. We should be able to make good choices. But isolation is a terrible thing that many of us, that's our coping mechanisms, because as you just stated earlier, we don't want to be bothered. So tonight's subject is, we're talking about stress and how to deal with it. So once again, if you are stressful or you're stressing, we don't want you to isolate yourself from others, because we've got to deal with the issues at hand, or else, Chaz, it's gonna stay there. It's not gonna go anywhere.
And before we read Sister Barbara's comment, let me just expand a little bit on this isolate. When you do that, when you isolate, I'm willing to bet you 9 times out of 10, the problem is going to get worse, because you're going to pick, I'm talking when you isolate completely from others, you're going to pick up terrible habits. You're probably 9 times out of 10 going to indulge in more, probably alcohol, drugs, prescription pills, and the list goes on and on. And then you start to have thoughts that run rampant through your mind. You started thinking of some of the craziest things, and sometimes you act on it. So once again, it's not good to be alone, because once again, just to sum it up, you'll have all kind of crazy thoughts racing. You'll pick up more terrible habits, and you're not going to have anybody there to somewhat help guide you. Now I'll move on to Sister Barbara's comment. She says, I found out that people get sick and tired of hearing about my issues and will ignore you when they don't want to be bothered. Reading is my go-to therapy, or go to the gym, etc. I'll cut this one in half real quick. She says she's doing reading, which is excellent. The gym, perfect solutions. Those are some of the good things that you can do to try to eliminate stress. Gym is one of my go-tos too. But she said that people are sick and tired of hearing about our problems, and that's just sad. That's where we are in society, where a lot of people they're just tired, period. They don't want to hear about anything unless it's about them and their benefit.
But also, though, Chaz, sometimes we're obsessed with what we're going through. You see,
Okay.
We're not just stressing over it. We are obsessed, meaning that everywhere we go, we talk about it. Everywhere we turn, we think about it. Everywhere we see people, we want them to know about it. And that's not really a good thing, because all that does is it digs up all of those emotions. And then we start talking about these neuroses, which basically talks about excessive anxiety. You see, we have excessive worry where we're worrying all the time. And so that's really not a good idea to continue to bring it up. It's okay to say, hey, you know what, Chaz, I'm going through a lot now. This is what I'm dealing with. But when you see me tomorrow, I say the same thing. When you call me, I tell you on the phone in different ways. When I see you next week, you say, hey, how's it going? I'm still dealing with this. When you see me next month, it's that. And a lot of it is internal, because a lot of it is our children, our grandchildren, our friends, our co-workers. And we're going to talk about that a little later on, because some of this stuff, Chaz, it's not good for us. And so we have to know what to do. Now, here's something else. Go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, I'll take it a step further, where she commented towards the end, where she said she reads and she goes to the gym. I would even throw in there crossword puzzles. Those are kind of things that kind of help stimulate the mind, and it relieves stress. I would say so, instead of overindulging in other things. But I'll let you go ahead and move on to the next point. Number 4, lashing out at others. Now, this is something that in the Black community, we have taken this to the max. Now, there's nothing wrong with being frustrated, but some of us, when we lash out, we get things in the house, we crash things, we break them, we throw items. Sometimes we start to harm ourselves. We cuss people out on the phone. These are some of the crazy extremes that we do. And like I said, now here's the thing. I would expect a 6 or 7-year-old to say, to get a toy or something and throw it and tear it up and break it. But for us as adults, when we get angry, we should not be picking up items in the house, throwing them, or destroying our property. These are just no-nos. But I know you have something to say about us.
You know I have something to say about that, because a lot of times it's in our language. You know, we don't talk the way you and I are talking now. we turn that volume up to an 8 or 9 and sometimes 10. And instead of just saying, you know what, Chaz, I'm going through this. You know what, Chaz, I'm going through this. It's like we have what is called a connection fit. And here's what's happening, Chaz. Here's what's happening. Okay. Basically, what we're doing is we have turned on our own self. The stress, we have turned in on our own self, and now we're lashing out at other people. But the problem is not the people, Chaz. The problem is our own heart. We don't know how to discipline our heart. We don't know how to comfort our heart. And so you can run to any building you want to run to, and so can I. We will never defeat this thing called stress until we take a deep look within and come to the realization that there are some things I cannot do anything about. Right. And there are some things I can do things about. So if I'm not willing to do something about what I'm stressed about, and I can, then I need to shut my mouth and take that thing like a man or woman, because that's not going to help. And a lot of times these little bitty kids, man, these little children, they ask, can they go outside or something? And instead of that person saying, you know what, mommy, daddy, uncle, auntie, or whomever I'm dealing with a lot right now, they curse these kids out, man. They talk bad to their spouses, their boyfriend, girlfriends, their sons and daughters, vice versa. And it's a sickness. Yeah, we got to deal with, Chaz. We got to deal with the stress, because we got to know how to handle it. So again, if you're out there and you're dealing with this, you're lashing out, stop it. Stop it right now. Stop it. And I was doing some other things. Go ahead, Chaz.
I was going to say real quick, I found there was a study on the news that I heard about a couple months ago. And this lady, she basically said on the news, people who are constantly stressing or lashing out, like we're mentioning as others, they are more prone to have heart disease. And they showed some graphics on the news. I wish I would have recorded it. But anyway, the news anchor was basically saying, showing a pattern between people who are always stressful. And then I think they end up giving interviews saying they lived so many years stressing, going crazy, hollering, tearing stuff up. And then towards the end of the interview, they were in tears saying that they created or they found that they had heart disease. It was terrible. So like I said, for people who are in this spot, you don't want to be in this spot, because not only heart disease, you're also liable to get high blood pressure. And
ulcers, stomach aches. And I got a question for you, Chaz, because we're going to go to a few comments, but this is the question I have for you, and I think you know the answer. Okay. Why can't, if you are the reason that I'm stressing, why can't I just say to you, Chaz, you know what, man? You're stressing me out because of A, B, C, or whatever it is. Why do I have to say, Chaz, you SOB? I'm talking about to the top of my lungs, and go on and on and on and on. And that gets you sick, you see. Yeah. That breaks you down. And it's not just, it's just people. It's all of us, we do that. And we got to stop that, because when we get done, what we say is this: I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. And as soon as the opportunity comes again, we do it again. So
right.
Stop this nonsense, Chaz.
Right. Sister Mashonda fires in here. She says, as adults, we shouldn't have a temper tantrum if we can't get our way. She's right. She's 100% right. And as adults, and all of us are included, there's no specific race, but when we don't get our way or we're frustrated, we do find ourselves having temper tantrums. It's like we're 50, 60, 70 years old up here acting like little children because we couldn't get our way or something didn't happen the way we wanted it to. And it's sad. And I just want to highlight the two words she said, the temper tantrum. That is so immature for adults to be acting that way. But like you said, we say it, and then when the opportunity rolls back around, we do it back again. So she's absolutely right about that.
She's definitely right.
Yeah, and then she fires back at us. She says, true that. So she
let's take this to another level now. Let's take this to another level. The level I want to take it to is this. Do you know what that really means when she said something about people can't have their way? You know what she's really saying without saying it. She's saying that the reason that we do these things and act this way is because we want to be in control. And if we're not in control, we act like little kids. See, because we want our way as adults all the time. We want everything to go our way like we're a one-way street. We want everything to go our way. And so if we can't have our way, if we can't be in control, if we can't be the big cheese, if we can't be the big control, if we can't be the head in charge, if we can't be the big man on campus, if we can't be the big woman calling the shots, if we can't be the CEO, if we can't be the president, we have a problem with that because it boils down to control. We want to control people many times, and those people aren't doing what we want them to do. And instead of saying, you know what, I really wish it could have gone this way, but that's okay, Chaz. It can go that way. Oh, you SOB, you shouldn't have never done that. So now here we're dealing with a big baby that's wanting to have control, and because they can't have control, they're crying like little kids.
Absolutely. Sister Sharon fires in here. She says, hey, family. Hey, Sister Sharon.
Yeah, we're talking about stress today and how to deal with it. And we don't do a good job all the time, but we're talking about the ways that we handle stress and how we should take care of that stress because it's not doing us any good. And one of the other things we do is this, Chaz.
Number 5, negative self-language, thinking or saying harsh things about themselves. Now, I'll take it from this biblical perspective. They say life and death is in the power of the tongue. So when we constantly are saying these kind of things, are constantly speaking these things into our situation, as they say, these things can have a negative effect on us because we look in the mirror and we say, I'm nothing. Nobody likes me. The world hates me. I'm all in this on my own. I have no help. I have no solution. When you constantly are bombarding yourself with these kind of thoughts, it is going to go left because 9 times out of 10, you're always thinking negative. 9 times out of 10, you're not doing anything to help shift the situation. And 9 times out of 10, you want this pity party. And it's pathetic that we're having these things now. Once again, brother, I'm going to say this and I'll pass it. I would expect a 7 or 8-year-old to get in the mirror and say, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm this and I'm that. Brother, for us to be 50 and 60 and 70 years old, looking in the mirror or constantly on the phone telling these things to others about ourselves, that shows that we have some low self-esteem as well.
Whoa. That's true, Chaz. And what this negative self-language is, it's basically us feeling sorry for ourselves. And see, some of us like that. Some of us thrive on that. If we're not feeling sorry for ourselves, the world is not the way it should be. We want to look at ourselves as if, wow, the whole world is against me. No, the whole world isn't against us. This is how we see ourselves. It's me against the world. One day I'm going to be on top. See, this is that pity party you're talking about. So we're basically having these very negative feelings about ourselves, and what that finds out in terms of words is that it puts stress back up on us. Right. We're already stressed out, and now we're putting stress upon our own selves because we're saying, I am a worm, I am low, I am nothing. So here you have the stress on us already. Now we have us putting more stress on us, and this is why a lot of us, our minds, and I gotta keep going back to what I keep telling you about, and that's that whole idea of the thinking. Our thinking is messed up. And so we have to look at that and see why we're not doing better when it comes to stress.
Right. Number 6, ignoring the problem that makes them stressful. I'm going to sip a little water and I'm going to let you pull it and I'll come back and piggyback.
Okay, because here's the thing. Some of the things that makes us stressful, we're not doing anything about it. So it's like me. If you say, Jahi, there is something that you need to do to take care of this problem that I keep complaining to you about. No, Chaz, I ain't going to do it. You see, so I'm ignoring the problem, but I'm taking on the stress. Okay. You see, these kids that we see every day in our families and just people that we see, we are promoting the problem of stress because we're not showing them as by way of example. When people see us going through, they should say, you know what? You people are showing me how I must act when I go through something. But they see us cry. They see us break vases. They see us cussing people out. They see us ignoring the problem. They see us complaining all the time. They see us eating all the greasy foods. They see us piling on the salt. They see us ingesting the sugar. They see us not doing anything about our situation. So guess what they're going to do when they get old? The exact same thing. So you see, no one wants to talk about the solution. See, we don't want to talk about the solution. And the solution is Stop ignoring the problems that make us stressful and fix them and take
Right.
care of them. Take
Right.
care of them.
Absolutely. You hit it spot on. Here's the thing, like you said, if there's something we can control, because there's a smart aleck that may say, well, I'm having issues with the who won presidency and all that. We know you can't control or stop that. So that's out of your control. So, but the things like you said that we may have going on in our internal lives, try to address that problem. And when you listen, when you've tried a couple things and they don't work and you see it, they clearly aren't working, sometimes just step back, because here's the root of it. Now I'll pass it. The root of it is, like we mentioned earlier, we want to be in control of every step of our life,
That's
and
true.
we cannot do that.
Okay, and let me throw this in, Chaz, because you haven't thrown this in, and neither have I. But I'm gonna throw this in. Let's be honest, Chaz. In some of this, some of us want attention. Let's just tell the truth, Chaz. Let's tell the truth. Some of us want to be seen, and some of us want to be heard. Oh, I'm so stressful. I'm going through so much stress. I just want to be seen, you see. I really don't want to, I have no intentions of doing anything about this stress. I want people to see, there go Ja. Yeah, y'all, look at your poor boy Ja. I'm just going through a whole lot. I'm climbing up the rough side of the mountain. So we want people to see us, man. We want people, we want to shake the cage and rattle the cage so people can see us. We want attention, man. We want people to love us. We want people's approval. We are lower than a worm in many instances, but this stress shouldn't be as difficult. But because we don't know how to deal with it, we rather have people look at me other than to say, you know what, like you may say to me, Ja, you told me your problem. This is something that may help you. Instead of me saying, you know what, Chaz, you're right. I'm going to try what you said because that's going to help me. I'm going to tell you, you just don't know what I'm going through. I ain't going to try that. I ain't trying to try that. So we waddle in the mud, in the muck, in the mire of stress. And this is very problematic. And we don't want to accept the fact that this is what's really going on.
Before I get to Sister Sharon's comment, you were spot on. And I thought of that a long time ago, but I never said it out loud. There are a few people that you can think of that do. And not on social, just in the everyday lives, they do want attention.
They want attention, man.
This is sad. Now I will pass it to Sister Sharon. She comments and says, "Tell the truth and shame the devil."
Yeah, because she knows that we're telling the truth, and she probably knows someone that has been ignoring the problem that's made them stressful. And all they want to do is when you see them, they want to complain about it. You see, and so they really want attention. They want you to look at them and say, oh, there go poor so-and-so. And then instead of them looking at you saying, hey, I'm doing something about it, what they do is they make their face sad like this. And then you say, oh, look at John, he's so poor. And I go, yeah, Chaz, your boy going through. So see,
you so much of an actor.
But this is what people do as opposed to dealing with how to deal with stress. Because if you run to a building, if I run to a building, if you run to a setting, that's supposed to teach you and I how to deal with stress. You're 80 years old now. You haven't learned yet? You haven't learned yet? So yes, like Sister Sharon saying, yes, they want attention and they're also very impulsive, meaning they bring stress on themselves. Here's a situation. Now, if I do this, I know that's going to bring me stress. And instead of me saying, I ain't going to do that, I do it anyway. And now you see the stress is coming back to bite me into you know what. But I caused that, Chaz. And instead of people saying you caused that, we want to blame everybody under the sun for our own weakness and because we put ourselves in that position.
Sister Sharon fires back. She says, I try to give positive energy. It doesn't work.
Yeah, because the people that she's trying to give that positive energy to, they're ignoring the problem, you see. So she can keep doing that, and she should when she feels up to it. But the problem is, it's not her. It's the people that you give the positive energy to when they don't accept it, when they want to stay in their muck and mire, when they want to continue to complain, when they want to feel low, when they want to complain and gripe, when they want to curse people out and lash out at people. You can't help them kinds of people. And we've got to stop making people think that because we're throwing them positive energy. Sister Sharon didn't say this, and I'm not saying she did. But when we give out positive energy and that person want to be in that little cubby of sad and stressful. We can't do anything about that, Chaz, and it's time to just move on because you can't help that kind of person.
Yeah, you can't. And like you said, I want to just stress about that whole victim mentality. Like you said, that whole us against the world. I don't know the person who invented that, but whoever did that, they did a good job at really, really tricking people. Because first of all, the whole world doesn't even know that some of us exist, and second of all, everybody's not out to get you. And when I found that out a long time ago, it really had me more calm because we all go through a phase where we think that everybody's out to get us. The boss doesn't like us. The wife doesn't like us. The kids hate us. People at the grocery store hate us. The neighbors hate us. And nobody's not thinking about us half of the time. So it's like we have to learn how to quit that mentality.
You know what that's called, Chaz? That's called paranoia. We're paranoid. There is a boogeyman under the bed. You know, everywhere we turn, this person doesn't like us. That person doesn't like us. The kids don't like us. The job doesn't like us. The neighbors don't like us. The world is against us. And we pride in that because we like that mentality. It's me against the world. No, it's not.
And right. And here's the thing, real quick. There's probably, and don't get me wrong, because there are smart ass. Now, there are a few people that may not like it, but we exaggerate it and take it to the extreme and say, like you said, us against the world. Like you mentioned, 9 times out of 10, that could be paranoia, where the person is overly paranoid. But
that's all it is. Right. It's a boogeyman under the bed. That's all it is, Chad. It's a boogeyman under the bed. Every time you look around, there's some under the bed. And you look under the bed, it's nothing there. But that other person is stressing. With that stressing, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Y'all just don't know. You see that boogeyman.
Right. Number 7, engage in risky behaviors. Example, gambling to try to get some money, which leads to other issues. Yeah, and those are risky behaviors. Or some of us like that do these tricks. I see them on TV a lot where they have these parachutes and stuff on. And these are risky behaviors because you can jump from these big buildings and stuff like that. And the doggone thing doesn't stay strong and it collapses. And now here you are plunging from a 50-something story building. Or like you said, gambling. That's risky. Now, you know doggone well you have no business going to Nevada, going to New York, going to all these popular places, placing these outrageous bets on some of these things. And 9 times out of 10, you're not going to win. And then when you lose the money, you sitting there looking stupid. So, I lost $3,000 on that bet. Negro, you should have known you weren't going to win it anyway.
Well, see, I'm saying, look, you already know that you don't have it, okay? And you're stressed because you're financially strapped. You don't have money. Maybe something happened to where you're running short, and that happens to all of us. But instead of saying, I'm going to keep the little I have and make do, we're going to take the little we have and risk it. I'm going to make this thing work, Chaz. You know, we going to risk this thing. We rubbing on the machines when we gambling and stuff, see? You know, we doing different. We're saying, come on, baby, when we shooting dice. Daddy need a new pair of shoes. And so we lose all our money, man. We lose our money. Then we go home, and now we got to hear it because we did something that was risky. Now, if we strike gold, that's different. But 9 times out of 10, like you said, when we're stressful, some of us, we say, you know what? I have nothing to lose. You a lie. You got everything to lose. But in your mind, you say that. But you don't. You shouldn't be doing that. You don't have it. So why are you sitting there running, doing those things that you're doing?
I want to take a pot shot at these gas stations or these convenience stores because here's the thing, brother, and I hate saying this, and if you guys still want to participate in this, that's fine, but let's just face it, okay? Mm-hmm. These people who consistently play these scratch-offs and they're constantly looking at the news, hoping that they won these numbers, brother, here's the thing. I'm willing to bet you 9 times out of 10, you're not going to win the scratch-off. You just really gave away free money. Now, I know some may say, well, I only paid $1, only paid 75 cents. It ain't gonna hurt nothing if I spent 75 cents and got 3 million back. Okay, I get that, but I'm saying 9 times out of 10 is rigged in a way you're not gonna win. So stop giving these ghetto convenience stores your money because it's rigged against you.
But Chaz, look here. When people are stressed, they look at this like, you know what? I got $5 and I'm stressed. I'm gonna go play this, and then they can see themselves hitting the lottery. And the lights in the building that they played the lottery at, the lights come on, and all of a sudden they on TV with a big old check, They say they won $1 million, and everybody looking at them, asking them. See, this is the kind of mindset because stress has this way of making us get into risky behaviors, and that's problematic, man.
Sister Sharon says some people live in misery. Yeah, but I want to get back at you, brother, real quick to ask you, what's your take on that about this whole gambling and playing these lottery numbers?
Well, my thing is, if you're disciplined and you know what you're doing, and you can spend $15 or whatever you want to set aside, and it doesn't affect your livelihood, that's fine. But if you're stressed, is what I'm saying. See, the context is stress. If you're stressed and you're trying to hit this thing because you're trying to deal with something you're going through, especially if you owe something and you don't have it, and instead of saying, let me try to find another way to get it, you take what you owe and you gamble it and you lose. Now you have more stress because you lost everything you had and you still owe. And now you're ready to do anything you can to get it. And that's foolishness at its best. And like Sister Sharon says, some people live in misery. She follows it up by saying, right. Here's another comment.
Sister Barbara Fozzie, and she says, when you constantly do your best at assisting people for their good, and they ignore your advice, it's stressful.
Well, I want to take a shot at that. And I don't mean this in a negative way to the Queen. I know what she's saying because we all have been there and done that. It shouldn't be stressful, but it is stressful because we all have hearts and we care. So when you do your best in assisting people for their good and they ignore your advice, leave them alone. Okay. What are you going to do? Leave that rascal? Leave these people alone because what you're doing is, like she said, it makes more stress. So here we're taking stress figuratively, and instead of putting it away from us, we're grabbing it and we're putting it in our lap. So we've got to stop that. We got to know what one of the songs say. You got to know when to fold up and all that kind of stuff. You got to know when to stop that, especially when you know that this person is not taking, like Sister Sharon said, she's giving out positive vibes and people don't want to hear it. Okay, so leave them alone. This Queen says, when you do your best, they don't want to hear it. Leave them alone. I don't know why we don't know how to leave them alone. And I want to say this as a commercial, and I promise you, I'll let you take it over from here. But here's the deal. This Saturday at 1 o'clock on the Jahi and Chazz show, we're going to do a broadcast, and it's called Shedding Blood. I'm not going to give you more about it, but it's called Shedding Blood. You're going to be surprised in what that means. Some people may mean throw blows and shed blood. Some people may mean something else. But the real meaning of the hidden meaning behind that, if you tune into the Jahi and Chazz show this Saturday at 1 o'clock on YouTube, you're going to be surprised that when we say shedding blood, sometimes you've got to leave people alone, and a lot of us don't know how to do that. And that is our problem.
That was good. I'll be tuning in to you guys' broadcast on Saturday. But Sister Sharon fires right back. She says, totally agree, brother.
She knows. See, and that's the thing. Most of us know. Sister Sharon is not the only one, but she's willing to say, I know y'all are right. See, if we were in church, she would be saying, amen. We can't get any amens on this one, you see, because we're close to home.
Number 8, find fault in others in everything.
When we're stressed, when we stressful, Chazz, talk about that.
We find faults in others in about everything, but here's the thing. Sometimes if you sit back and critically look at the situation and analyze and say what's really going on, I hate to say this, but most of the time it's us. We like to flip it on the others. Now, other people do have their part. They may be doing things they had no business doing in X, Y, and Z. But if you really, really critically look at the situation, most of the time it's us. And we like to flip it on the other people to take the heat off of us. Normally it's us, and that's what I want to say. It's us.
I'm not gonna watch this broadcast again because you stepping on toes tonight. You stepping on my toes, and I don't like this broadcast because you're hitting the truth, and that's what we need. Even though I'm having fun, we need people that's gonna be truth tellers. This stress, Chazz, that we're dealing with, we have got to stop always trying to critique and criticize and find faults with other people when basically it's us. We're stressful, and we don't know how to deal with the stress. We don't know how to think about the stress. So we try everything under the sun to get rid of the stress other than the right thing. So we look back and say, is the stress gone? It's still there. So we try something else. Is the stress gone? It's still there. So we keep trying everything. And finally, we're going to go to our grave stressed out over something that we have no business being stressful about?
Mm, mm, mm. Number 9, outbursts of anger, exploding at people who are
Whoa.
not the source of their stress. Yeah, because we're walking around, we have so much built up frustration from our jobs, something that
Mm-hmm.
could have happened at home, the wife, the
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend, or
Mm-hmm.
etc. And there's some innocent people, for example, on the highway. There could be an elder who accidentally cut you off. And
Yeah,
since
yeah.
you're bottling in all this frustration and anger, you look down or roll down the window and you give them the bird, or you curse them out and say, get they blank and butt off the road. Stuff like that. Or
Yeah, yeah,
you just
yeah.
start, taking your frustration out on the children at home. They're
Wow.
innocent. They got home from school. They may have, knocked over a cup of water and knocked over
Yeah,
a cup
yeah,
of
yeah,
orange juice.
yeah.
Instead of just saying, Susie, pick that water up. You cuss Susie out. You
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about her clothes, all kind of things to degrade her because we have so much anger that's built up and we're just looking to explode.
And that's what stress does. Stress doesn't control the anger, you see. Stress doesn't control the anger. In other words, stress fuels the anger. It shouldn't, Chaz. Now, I'm saying something that's really contradictory to what we're saying, but I'm showing you how stress works. When stress is not checked, when stress is not dealt with, it makes us explode. Now, it really doesn't literally do that, but it gives us more because, see, when I'm stressed out and you or someone does something to me, that gives me more fire to explode and go to the moon because I'm waiting on something. I'm like a
Right.
hound dog. I'm sniffing.
Looking at it.
I'm
Right.
waiting. I'm waiting for somebody to step on my toes. I'm waiting for somebody to say something out of pocket to me. I'm waiting for somebody to push me the wrong way. And once I see that, even though they didn't do it, I'm going to go crazy on that person. I'm going to have a conniption fit. Now we're laughing, but this is how foolish many of us are because
Right.
stress has gotten the better of us. And they always say this, and I promise I'll go back and let you have your say so. But they always say this. We all say this. I ain't going to do that anymore, Chaz.
Right.
I acted a fool, man. Was that me? I acted a fool. And as soon as the stress gets on our back again and someone does something to us, it's the same thing.
Yeah. And I've heard that a lot where people say, I'm tired of doing this and that, and it sounds good on the front, but it's around the corner. And like you said, we had, as a Black community, we have to stop that. I think
really
we lead the league in exploding on people. We really do.
And see, we don't realize when two things come together, it's going to happen. When opportunity and desire. In other words, when I explode, I was desiring to do that, Chaz. You didn't
what?
Yes. You didn't make me do that. The opportunity came, see?
Okay.
Opportunity came and I was desiring it. So I put that opportunity and desire together and I went to the moon with this thing. And this is what happens to most of us because we don't know how to deal with stress. And that's why today we're saying some of the things that we do when we're stressful. Next week, we'll talk about some of the positive things that we should be doing because this stress is really messing us around.
Sister Sharon Fire's in here. She says total straight denial.
Yeah, let me have that one because I want to say something on that. She's right. Because here's the deal. Okay. If you say, you sure look like you stressed today. No, I ain't stressed. And I'm steady pulling my hair out. So, Jahi, you stressed? No, I'm good. I'm steady biting my fingers. Jahi, you stressed? Nope. And I'm steady eating 18 gallons of ice cream every chance I get. You stressed? No, I ain't stressed. Something is wrong with me, and you know it's wrong with me. So instead of me being honest and saying, yeah, Chaz, I got something on my mind right now. This is what I'm dealing with. I want to play big man on campus. No, nothing's going wrong with me. I'm good. But yet I'm doing things. Like I'm smoking dope now. I'm drinking. I'm doing all kinds of things. I'm just doing stuff because I'm really stressed, Chaz. I'm really stressed. Yeah. And I don't know how to just say I am. And it's okay to say that. Right. But do something about it and don't just talk about it.
Right. Well, you're right about that. Some of us, we don't like to tell people what's going on. And most of the time, people who've been around us, they can tell something is going wrong. And instead of us acknowledging it, like you said, we try to sweep it under the rug. We kick it down the road and say there's nothing wrong. And that's not good. Sometimes you do need to just admit what's going on and talk to the person and let you keep it moving. Number 10 says, crying uncontrollably, becoming overwhelmed with emotion, leading to prolonged crying. I'll let you take this one, brother.
Okay, here's the deal, everybody. There's nothing wrong with crying when a person is stressed. Let the tears flow.
Right.
That's normal.
Right.
But you crying 1 hour, the next hour, the third hour, the fourth hour, all the way to the next day, then the next week, then the next month.
Come on, dog.
You have slipped into a state of depression and don't even know it. You've slipped into a state of depression and don't even know it. And and you could tell now sometimes when we cry, and you got to look at this. When we cry, we just cry because we're stressed or whatever. But sometimes when we're uncontrollable, we're crying and hollering. We're playing snot and throwing stuff. Chazz, that's stress, man. That's all that is. Because most people just cry. That's stress, man.
Right.
And people don't want to hear this, but that's stress, man. And we got to stop this. So if you're out there and you find yourself fitting any of these moods we're saying, we're coming to you in love. And you're coming to me in love. So these things are helping me. Hopefully it'll help you because, Chazz, we are too old, as you mentioned earlier, to be acting like that. Crying is fine, but crying for 5 hours, sniffing. Don't stop crying. What's wrong? Nothing. Yes, something is wrong. And so we got to figure out what's wrong. This is not. Go ahead with this.
I just want to touch on the crying real quick. Like, if you cry, to me, if you at home or something, normally when you cry, it should be quiet to where you're in your room or you're in the bathroom and there's nobody around. But like you said, when it's hollering, throwing things, or just like you said, go ahead.
We want people, again, we want people to notice us, man.
Okay.
Or when we curse and stuff, we're stressed. But instead of saying, Chazz, you know what you did? That was really foul, man. And everybody doesn't have to talk like me, but you can express yourself. But all that other stuff, that's because we want people to see us, especially if there's a lot of people in a room and somebody's stressed out, and someone does something to them, they're going to say it loud so everybody can look at them and say, boy, you sure checked that person. Yeah, didn't I check that MFer? Yeah, there's nobody do me like that. And they're really stressed, you see, because it ain't that deep. It's not that deep.
Yeah. Okay. Number 11. Avoiding responsibilities, neglecting important tasks or obligations because they feel too overwhelmed. Yeah, or I would put it in procrastination. We sit back and say, hypothetically, we have an appointment at 12 o'clock. Instead of getting our butts up, going to that appointment, getting ready around 10 to get there on time, get in the shower, do whatever you got to do, we sit back and say, I don't feel like it today. You sit back and don't do nothing, and then you constantly are just procrastinating, and then you never get to the appointment. And then you're constantly rescheduling. You're constantly just laying around. You're constantly watching TV or binging Netflix. It's just a terrible spot to be in when you're constantly procrastinating.
Everything you said, I concluded it with stress. The African American community, including myself and you, we must come to grips with what is going on right now. A lot of us are stressed to the hilt. The job is not the way it used to be. The pay is not how it should be. We're being treated like peons. The spouse, the girlfriend, boyfriend, the children, the grandchildren are not treating us the proper way. Our health is failing us. We know that the time is winding up. The older people, we know that we don't have that much time left, and we're scared to die. So we're stressed, you see. And instead of saying, I'm scared, we begin to act foolish because we know that time is running out. We know that this time is, Chazz, people don't believe this, but I'm telling you now, we know that our time is limited. And we know that our better years has already gone in front of us. So now the Grim Reaper is waiting on us. And we know it won't be long. So we stressed out, man. And so we don't want to do anything. We don't want to do any responsibilities, no task. We don't want to be obligated. So we want to die. Stressed. But when you die and when I die, the two tombstones should say, here lies two men who died because they didn't know how to deal with stress. And when our children and grandchildren pass away, put that same thing on their tombstone because we never sat them down and said, Tamika, you're stressed today? She says, yes, I'm stressed. We begin to talk to her and share with her that what she's going through is going to pass. We're going to give her some suggestions. But all we do is say, you stressed? Then let it out. And somebody's got to pay for this stress, which is nonsense, Chazz.
Absolutely. Number 12, frequent arguing, starting mess with others over small issues due to heightened stress. This happens usually when stress is on a high alert in their lives or high alert in their lives. Yeah. And here's the thing. Some of the people, not just only us, just people in general, they'll hold things in and then they'll wait and they'll wait and they'll wait. And then all of it takes, like you said, is something small. For example, someone didn't, I don't know, they didn't put the lid back on the Kool-Aid that they drunk. And just because they didn't do that, all the stress that was built in prior is what kicks it off. These are things that are constantly happening, like you said, picking little fights with people about little things. Brother, these are things that are terrible. And as we mentioned earlier, as adults, we shouldn't be acting this way as adults over these frivolous things, because once again, it boils back down to stress. And this is terrible.
I'm laughing, Chaz, because I know some people in my family. All you got to do is look at them, and you can tell it's on them. You can tell that they waiting. It's like it's in them, or the way they talk to you. Sometimes if you talk to somebody and they're stressed, they give you one-word answers. Nope. Yeah. Normally they talk, right? But now they say, nope. Yep. And all of a sudden, you keep pushing. They say, didn't I say no? Did you? So that gives them the ability to kick it to another level. You see, the neurological aspect of the mindset, the thinking aspect, the reasoning, the logic. You see, these kids are seeing this stress and how we deal with it. And we don't do a good job, you see. We don't know how to teach them because we haven't been taught ourselves. So what we do is, like you say, we start arguing over nonsense, small issues. And the reason that we're arguing, because stress is at a high alert in our lives. Okay. And instead of me saying, when I see you, Chaz, you know what? My stress level is at an all-time high. And you say, okay, Jahi. See, I'm being honest with you. When you say, what's going on, Jah? Ain't nothing going on. But my stress alert is high. And as soon as you accidentally step on my toes when you walk by me on these gym shoes that I had for 15 years, and you didn't see my toes. It's not about the toes and the shoes.
Right.
It's about you're angry about something and you won't be honest with it. And this is why we have to have these kinds of discussions, Chaz.
Yeah. Sister Sharon is agreeing too. She says, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's what it boils down to. It really does.
Number 13, excessive drinking / drug use, turning to substance in a large amounts, trying to numb the feelings of pain. And that's no way to live. I'm telling you now, when you're constantly trying to hide behind the marijuana, or you're constantly hiding behind the Grey Goose vodka or the Jack Daniels and all this stuff. No, but these are true, brother. You know, we're constantly going to the liquor store. In fact, it's so bad that the clerk that works behind the counter says, you in here again today? Yeah, I gotta get mine in. So it's like we're taking pride in these things. And normally when you're constantly drinking, you're constantly smoking, it makes your problems worse, because here's the thing: once you come down from that high, or you come down from being drunk, you have to redo it again. And here's the terrible part about it: our bodies can get so numb to it, to where we've been drinking for so long, we've been smoking for so long, it takes quadruple the amounts just to get a little bit of the high. So when you do all that and you add all the stress that's going on, brother, that's a recipe for disaster.
You're right. And the thing of it is we're not saying people, you can do what you want to do. If you want to drink, that's your business. You want to do drugs, that's your business. In context, don't take us out of context. We're saying in context, when you are stressed, now you want to get more, you see, because you're trying to drink away some sorrows. Maybe someone doesn't love you the way you think they love you. They don't love me the way I think they should love me. They're not treating me the way I should be treated, I think. So instead of me just taking my little drink and going home and saying, hey, this was a great time, I'm going to drown myself in sorrows, and I'm going to be try to be the last man standing. I'm going to try to drink everybody under the table. I'm going to try to smoke everybody into oblivion. You see, this is what is going on. But all it is, Chaz, is stress. So if you're out there like that, we're encouraging you, don't do that. You're damaging your body. You're damaging your mind. You're damaging your emotions.
I was gonna say real quick, and I just said this. I just want to touch up on it, brother. I'm surprised that people are still able to get high, because I've known people for years who've been doing that, and I think they said that their tolerance level gets so high that it takes so much to get them just off of a basic feeling. So it's like
Stress.
this is terrible. This is terrible. Number 14, panic attacks, feeling short of breath, dizzy, or losing control due to anxiety. Yeah, but I want to push back a little bit on this, and we did broadcasts on this before. Yeah, we do get panic attacks, but if you're feeling dizzy or short of breath, I'm willing to bet 9 times out of 10 you're not getting enough exercise. You're not. So that's what some of that is. I have to know that one.
Yeah, that's stressful too, Chaz. It is, because you should be doing that. But here's another deal. Sometimes, you know, you can hear people say, my chest is hurting me. And probably is. Some people can say, my stomach is hurting me. But it's really not that. It's the stress that we have thought about all these days. It's built up inside of us. Now we have ulcers. Now we have to take medicine. And it's stress, see? And nobody's going to say this. This is why we're encouraging people. We cannot allow this stuff to be in our lives. It kills us. A lot of times we don't know how many people die from stress-related issues and health issues, see? And that's what it all boils down to. We're just stressed out, man.
Yeah. Sister Mandre, Brother Mandrea fires in here. He says, teach. We appreciate him for coming in. He says, that amplifier.
Yeah, because Chaz, when you talk about stress, and let's go back to the actual definition that we're talking about in our context, what stress is. This is what we're talking about right there.
Stress. What you feel when something is hard to handle and makes you worried.
Yeah, we got, listen, relational problems, it causes stress. Mm-hmm. Financial problems, it causes stress. Health issues, it causes stress. And we can go on and on and on down the road of what causes stress. People, family members, stressful. We can go on. But what I'm trying to say is we've got to be able to do something about that. And next week, Chaz, we're going to talk about what we can do. Now, these are the things that we do that sometimes we shouldn't do. But let's talk about something next week. These are the things that are helpful to do when you're stressed out. So we want to be a broadcast that's going to give you the antidote. We want to give you the solutions to the problem, because we all know that stress is everywhere. But we want to know, how do we deal with this? And that's why I'm thinking that it's important for us to come back next week just talk about the importance of what can we do then. We've told you what you can't do, but let's talk about what you can do when it comes to stress, Chaz. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree. I was going to ask you that too. I think we should come back next week and do a follow-up on the stress. It's heavy in the Black community. It's heavy on us as individuals, and it's something that we're quietly battling on a day-to-day basis, trying to fight this thing off.
Our children are struggling right now, and I'll let you have the final words, Chaz, as we normally do, but I want to say something quickly here. Our children are struggling because we have not been good parents, good uncles, aunts, cousins, whomever we are, because we haven't taught them stress is going to come in your life. That's a part of life. Absolutely. But we never taught them, how do I deal with it when someone in school may say they don't like me anymore? See, stuff like that. And the other person is worried about it. We normally say, oh, don't worry about it. If they didn't like you, they weren't a friend anyway. But you're not dealing with the emotions of the child who's struggling with that. See, we always want to give these quick fixed answers, just do. No, it's not about just these proverbs. It's about sitting down and telling these people, this is what happens when you don't take care of stress. Right. Now, if you want to live, that's why a lot of us look much older than we are, Chad. Right. I mean, we look like we're 90-something years old. And you know why we look like that? Stress. Stress. We have not dealt with this stress. So I want to encourage everybody to tell a friend, come back next week so Chaz and I can drop the bomb to let you know here are some things that you can do, because you should want to do something about your stress. You should want to stop complaining all the time. I should want to stop griping all the time. I should want to stop cussing people out and fussing at people because I'm stressed out. So I'm saying, in love, brothers and sisters, I enjoyed this broadcast, and I thank you all for tuning in to us. I'm going to let Chazz close us out, but we definitely want you to come back next week because we need to know, okay, if these are the things that we do, what should we do that's positive when it comes to this stress? We have a couple of comments, Chazz.
Sure. Sister Sharon fires in here. She says, great conversation. Very much so needed. Absolutely. We appreciate you, Sister Sharon. Sister Mashonda fires in here. She says, Shim Hotel, great broadcast. We appreciate her. Sister Barbara fires in here. She says, great show. Appreciate her.
Okay, so take us away, man.
My final words, I appreciate you for having me on. I appreciate all the viewers as always. But tonight was very important. It was about stress, how we handle it, some of the things that are going into it. And here's my key point where I draw away from all of it. 90% of the time, our stress is something that can't not be controlled, where we just lose our handle. We just go ballistic. We go crazy. We're trying to control things that are out of our control. And I'll just take it a step farther. You have to worry about your health, because when you're constantly hollering, you're constantly screaming, you're constantly breaking things around the house, you're at high risk for high blood pressure. And that opens things up even worse. So now you're stressed. Now you got to take pills to numb the stress. And then you're eating all this sugar that makes it worse. So it's just a combination of thousands of problems that just pile on top of each other because of stress. And last but not least, when you see yourself in these situations, stop thinking that these things are just going to instantly go away. You have to say, you know what? This is something I can't control. I would like to control it, but you know what? I'm just going to let this thing go. I've done all I could do, and hopefully this thing will get better. But stop trying to control things that are out of our control. I appreciate everybody for coming on. Hopefully we see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.